The year was 1919. Henry Ford wanted to lower the price of his cars. He wanted to also raise wages and expand production, and his plan was to reinvest the company's profits back into the business and the workers, not the shareholders. But the Dodge brothers, who were minority shareholders at the time, had a completely different vision. They wanted dividends, cash payouts, and not reinvestment. So they sued Ford, and they won. This is the ruling that changed capitalism. The court declared that a corporation's primary duty is not to the workers, not to the public, not to innovation, but to shareholders. This was the birth of what we now call shareholder primacy, the idea that the only thing that matters is maximizing profits for investors. It meant that raising wages could now be considered theft. It also meant that lowering prices to help the consumer could now be a lawsuit. And it also meant that reinvesting in your workers could be challenged in court. That shift was seismic. Before this ruling, capitalism was messy but grounded in productivity and risk-taking. Afterward, it slowly started rewarding stock manipulation, financial engineering, and corporate greed. Here's what followed. We had stock buybacks instead of research and development, mass layoffs during record profits, CEOs making 400 times what workers earn, pensions gutted for the sake of quarterly earnings, and healthcare and education monetized for hedge funds. The game stopped being about making things and started being about making money off money. The Dodge versus Ford case was the fork in the road. Henry Ford wanted to build an empire based on affordable cars and well-paid workers, what he called good business. The Dodge brothers, on the other hand, wanted cash in hand, what we now call the free market. The courts sided with the Dodge brothers, and American capitalism never looked back. So why does this matter now? Because everything you're angry about, from mass layoffs to healthcare bankruptcies to gentrification, it started with that decision. That's when greed became a legal duty, humanity became a liability, and long-term thinking became a threat to investors. And here we are, over 100 years later, in the late stages of capitalism, wondering why the rich get richer off of buybacks, why workers are disposable, why immigrants get blamed while billionaires get bailouts, and why the system feels rigged. So before I go, the Ford versus Dodge case wasn't just a lawsuit, it was the birth certificate of what I call perverted capitalism. So when people say capitalism worked before, remind them it was never allowed to evolve into something just. It was commandeered at the crossroads. Let's move.